Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a video and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Today, I'm privileged to have a very successful woman entrepreneur from Mumbai, Maharukh Rustomjee. Maharukh, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And thank you very much for inviting me to the show.
Thank you. Maharukh is the managing partner of Amaterasu Life Sciences LLP. She's got 35 years experience as a technocrat and an entrepreneur in the pharmaceutical world. She's worked for Novartis, GSK, and others. She's got many granted patents and 45 are pending, and she's a much awarded and recognized individual, not just in the pharmaceutical industry, but across the world. Maharukh, tell me, what would you say are three key milestones in your life or your career?
I think, first of all, the most important one, I think, would be to join UDCT or ICT when I decided to do my pharmacy. Mm-hmm. I think that was a key decision which had a major impact because, that institute itself had so much of reputation and all that. It has helped me throughout my career. So I think that was the first one, and really was a good decision to do that. Mm-hmm. Second event was, I think, when I decided to leave my multinational cushy job and said I want to do something unconventional, different, and I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't want to keep on working in the corporate world, and that was in the year 1998 when I left and joined a very small company called Uttam Pharma doing technical marketing for the first time. Mm-hmm. I was a pure R&D person, mm-hmm. and it gave me an opportunity to understand how companies work because I am a pharmacist. I did B.Pharm, M.Pharm, and worked in the R&D and did lots of functions, but all technical functions within various companies. So I've never done an MBA, so I wanted to understand how business is done. Okay. And so I worked in that small company for 6 to 7 months, and it gave me enough confidence to say that yes, I can build my own business. And that's when in 99 started my first company with two of my friends as partners, mm-hmm. which was called Rubicon Research Private Limited. And I think the third part is sometime in 2014. It was a difficult phase for me to, build a company for 15 years from scratch, to a large scale, and then to give it up is very difficult. Let me tell you that, because it becomes like your second, third baby. I have two children, became my third baby. It was very difficult and emotional moment for me. But I think I had a lot of support from my husband, family, and friends, and I took a decision to step back and say, no, I want to exit. It was very unexpected from everyone, and there were a lot of issues for the next 3 to 4 years. But I managed to exit, and then I set up this company. So I think these are the three important decisions, I would say, in my life, which which I think at that time when I took them were difficult. But in the long run, I think that was the best thing to do because I am happy with them. Fantastic. And I'm very comfortable with what I did, and I'm very proud of what I did. So I think.
Fantastic. So now let's talk about, Amaterasu Life Sciences. I'm not sure if I'm getting the pronunciation correct.
Yeah, it's Amaterasu, which is actually a Japanese word.
Okay.
And it is actually the name of the sun goddess. So if you see in all religions, there are only sun gods.
Correct.
But this is a sun goddess. And since I am a Leo, I thought it fit me very well.
Oh, what?
And the implied meaning is it illuminates, it shines in the sky and illuminates heaven. And when you are into innovation and research, you need a lot of illumination. So I thought that was a good name. Difficult to pronounce, but I thought it was a very apt name.
I'm glad I'm getting it right. I was trying to figure out because it sounded Japanese, but I thought maybe I got the spelling incorrect. So that's why I checked.
No, whenever I meet any Japanese pharma people, they're very thrilled with the name.
Wonderful. Yes. Wonderful. So tell me about the kind of work you're doing at Amaterasu.
Yeah. So basically, just to understand this, I think we have to go back to what I did in Rubicon. So Rubicon was built as India's first contract research company, pure research company, giving fee for service in the pharmaceutical or formulation development space. It was very unique.
Okay.
And when we built that, so that was a research company, and we built the teams, and we built the infrastructure was a major part of it. And we built all that. We did some good research. We did lots of innovation for our clients and ourselves and all that. Now, when I exited that company, and I was thinking of what I should do in Amaterasu. I was finding it very difficult. Of course, I was on a sabbatical for 3 years, in which time I wrote a book and things like that. But I went back to my institute. I went back to UDCT, ICT. And I started thinking that, okay, now I was almost 53 at the time, 53, 54. I said, what should I do with my life? I definitely cannot retire. So what I started, while I was thinking a lot, what I started doing is started to think about what I do not want to do. That was easier to do.
Correct.
So I was very clear that I do not want to put up infrastructure. I don't want that headache of running a lab every day and seeing that as light, today no light, no water, people have not come. I don't want that day-to-day running this thing. But I realized that I want to do research. That is the first thing. So I want to do research, which at my own terms, what I do innovation. I get a high when I crack a problem. Let me put it this way. I don't drink alcohol. But I get a high when I crack a problem, when I get some good results. So I want to keep on doing that. And I think I'm pretty good at it. So I think I should do that. Second is I wanted to give something back to the society. And then I started thinking, how do I give something back to society? Because, I mean, finally, at the end of the day, my core competency is research, doing pharmaceutical research.
Right.
So how do I give it back to society? So I went back to my institute, like I said. I started, I had lots of free time. 3 years not doing anything from, working 24/7 was difficult at times, but I started spending a lot of time with the PhD students over there. Many of the faculty are my friends and old colleagues. So when I was doing that, I realized that the best way to give back to society would be to try and bring the academic research to such a stage that it can be commercialized.
I see.
Yeah, because all these academic research is funded by the government. There are lots of funds which come from DBT, DST, all those. So it's funded by the government. But the way academic research is done, not even 1% is commercializable. So I said, okay, now my research, I will collaborate with an institute, have PhD students along with a guide, and I will develop products which can be commercialized. It will kill two birds with one stone. One is it's going to give me, it's going to help me not need an infrastructure.
Correct.
I can work with the institute which has infrastructure. If not, I hire. So I work with different, depending on whatever expertise or infrastructure I need, I go out and hire it out. But it means that when I work with one group in an institute, over the next 5 years, and if I am able to commercialize even 3 products, it means that that institute will have learned how to do research in such a way that it becomes a commercializable product and not only file papers and thesis.
Okay.
And so this was, I thought, would be the best way to give back to society. And that's why I said, yes, I will do research. I'll not put up my lab. And I'm going to do research in a collaborative way. And I'm going to definitely do some major research in one of the institutes. This is what I decided. And then while I was doing that, I decided, okay, I do research on what? Because finally, at the end of the day, I'm an entrepreneur and I like to create wealth.
Correct.
How do I create wealth? So the research has to be very meaningful, very relevant to the society, and it should solve some problems. See, the innovations, even if they are incremental, when they are solving some problem, then they are very valuable. Otherwise, you file a patent, it has no value.
Sure.
So that's how I started, and I started looking at which are the areas. And one area which came up very starkly in front of my eyes was, actually, there's an anecdote behind it that I went on a holiday to Spain, and in the summer it was 45 degrees, and I was chafing badly because I'm a little bit overweight, and I was chafing badly. And I went there looking for a product, and I saw a new product which was a little bit very different type. I came back and kept on thinking about it and researching about it. And then I realized that actually this is one product over there, but there's not much research done in the field of chafing or anti-friction. Friction creates a lot of problems on our skin for different types of patients.
Okay.
So I took that and I developed a anti-chafing or anti-friction technology and a range of products.
Wow.
That is what I did.
Wow.
And so that is how it starts. And then in the institute, we are working on some long-acting injections and all. Again, so what we do is we look at what is an unmet need. And we go and validate that it is really an unmet need. I mean, I may think that the patient needs it, but the patient and doctor may say, I don't need it. Then what do I do? So what we do is we have a validation. We have a concept validation phase. So depending on the product, like if it is a very high-end product like injectable dosage forms, and I go and talk to doctors, maybe myself or through an agency.
Okay.
For the anti-chafing product, I use an agency to go and talk to dermatologists and to talk to consumer groups. So, and we get back with what is really the need assessment.
Okay.
Is there really a need for the product? After we validate the need of the product, then we start looking at the technology.
I see.
What is out there? Is it serving the purpose? If it is not serving the purpose, what really do you need to develop? So that is how we build the strategy around what is the type of technology, what is the type of market, what is the pricing, who are the consumer groups, what can they afford, what not. So for this, again, we take help of some experts.
Wonderful.
And then, and once that is done, then our job starts. Then we know what we want to develop, we know what pricing we want, we know what positioning we want. That is when our scientific work starts, when we start defining what is the design specification, what do I want in the product, and how am I going to measure it.
Okay.
That's very important. See, because whatever is benefit I'm going to give the doctor or the nurse or the patient or the consumer, how am I going to measure it in my product? Sometimes there are in vitro methods, sometimes there are in vivo or human studies or animal studies. So depending on that, we first develop the methodology. So we decide what are our performance parameters. We design methodologies to measure them, we benchmark them. And that's how we develop our product. So all the technology development happens in the background. But most important is validation of the concept and principle with the actual users, getting some marketing sort of scenario around it, getting some marketing landscape around it, and see whether we can really commercialize the product. Would it make sense for anybody? Actually, ours is not a marketing company. We are marketing these products because I did not find anybody who was very gung-ho about marketing it. So I started marketing it myself. And again, that's a new phase. I'm learning something new. So I enjoy doing that.
So tell me a little bit about the kind of products that you have.
So currently we are working mainly in 3 areas. One is, of course, the anti-friction range of products. So we have products for men, for women, for feet care. And we are developing now further products. So we also have a very important product called Soris, which is for prevention of bed sores. There is no product like that. It's a barrier product and it's working very well. We just launched it 2 months ago, but the response from the consumers is really great and it really works well. So now we are developing products for immobile patients. That's one range, and another consumer products for the same target group that we have. Young men, women, old people who use our products. So everything related to friction and the skin, protecting the skin against friction, and what do you need to do it, and then further one is protecting and then treating the friction related. So that's how step by step we are developing various products.
And I guess something like this friction product would be very good in the hot season of India.
Yes, because it gets aggravated with moisture and heat. So it's very, very, very well. And there's no product like that in the market. It wasn't, at least when I started the work. And we also realized when we set up the performance parameters and all that we are a very unique product, very different, and the properties are very different. So we filed a patent. And now we are trying to, the patent will get granted this year. Next year, hopefully, I think.
Right.
So that's where we are working. Second area, what we are working is, along with the institute, we have 3 PhD students at ICT. I work with Professor Padma Devarajan and her group, and we are together developing a range of what we say long-acting parenteral or injection products. So 2 are in the Alzheimer's and dementia space, and 1 is in the malaria space. The malaria space is a very interesting one injection therapy. So it was developed by them at a certain level, and we have taken it forward and we are developing it further. So that's a very different, that's a long-term basic research. It's a long gestation period sort of a thing and a lot of investment. But along with that, along with the institute, I also have a partner from US, a US company, and me together, Amaterasu, together we developed this product. And so Amaterasu brings the technology development along with the institute partner and manages all the development work over here. But our partner in US, they bring all the regulatory and the business aspects, and they actually will get the funding. After a certain stage, we'll get funding. So they help us. So they are regulatory experts and development experts, but more regulatory. So we are working with them, and we have already filed 1 pre-IND, and now we'll be filing 1 IND soon.
Wonderful.
So they help us with that. And so like that, in fact, the first year in Amaterasu, I just set up these models of engagement. Because if I want to do this, I cannot do it alone with the institute partner. So I have set up this collaboration, and I spent, I think, 6 months with my lawyers, setting up the thing so that it works well and looking at all scenarios. And there's another partnership which I have where I'm developing generic products for the US market, but these are complex products like topical products and injectable products. So, which are Me Too products. Whereas what I do with the research with the institute are innovation products. They are first time in the market products. So, they require a little bit different regulatory approach. The science remains the same. Science doesn't change, you just apply it in a different way.
Okay.
So these are all the research.
Fantastic. So let me move to some more questions for you. You know, Maharukh, you work for large pharmaceutical companies. You're a researcher at heart. You love to solve problems. You're building an amazing business. What are some of the core values you believe in?
I think the first and foremost core value which I believe it is in ethics and integrity.
Okay.
And my ex company Rubicon was very successful because we were reputed to be a very ethical company. So today everybody talks of this data integrity issues, but in '98 we started. I mean, I used to call it authenticity, not integrity. But so we started that company with systems to ensure that all the data is very, very accurate and authentic.
Okay.
And I think I believe in that and I pursue that no matter what. So that's very important to me. Ethics is also very important to me. I don't want to do anything the wrong way. I come from the Parsi community. That's very important to us. Either I will do things the right way or I will not do it.
Absolutely. Well said.
Not break any laws. I remember when I exited the business, there were lots of issues when we were trying to exit, but lots of agreements I refused to sign till I could ensure that I'm going to follow it. So if there was anything in that which I could not follow, I refused to sign.
Fantastic.
That is the way I work and that's the way I think.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So tell me, you lead such large teams of people. What would you say is Marukh's leadership style?
I'm very participative and democratic style. Actually, I believe in delegating a lot. But it also depends on the people. So I currently I don't have a very large team. I have a team of 11, 12 people.
Okay.
Who coordinate all the work. But at the institute, I have, 3 PhD students, 1 postdoc. And we work with all these different vendors across the country. But so what happens is that when I'm working with somebody who is just a fresher and who has joined our company, then it's more of a very coaching type of leadership.
Correct.
And there is much, very high support and high direction. But we are marketing and we have 2 very senior professionals who are heading our pharma and OTC marketing. With them, it's a very, very low support, low directive,
Right.
sort of thing.
Right.
It's just a target setting and business review and what is going wrong and what do you need from me, that sort of a thing.
Right.
So overall, I think it's a very participative and democratic process. I believe in open team working. I don't like this shrouded thing. I'm very open. I'm a very open and frank person, and that's my leadership style. At the same time, you cannot be democratic all this time. So sometimes you need to put a
Correct.
to it.
Well
But I think 80% of the time, I'm a very participative and democratic leadership is my style.
Wonderful. And as a woman, you have broken through the glass ceiling.
Yeah.
There is a lot of conversations that go on in India now about gender balance, gender diversity. I know some work is being done, but it's not being done enough. My question to you is, what can be done so that this imbalance can be corrected faster?
I think the imbalance can be corrected only if the women around you in our country or in our world are very self-confident.
Okay.
You have to bring up your daughters to be very self-confident and be very, very sure of themselves. And I think that is where we have a major job on our hands. It's very difficult to do with the sort of things which we have. And I do know that when I joined the industry sometime in 1985 also, I've gone to interviews where I've been told, "Arey, you will get married and just sit at home, so we don't want you."
Okay.
And I've always told them, do you want a good candidate or a male candidate?
Oh.
The commitment which I bring, you will not get easily.
Correct.
So, it was that ability to tell them that it's fine if that's what you think, but it's not right and I know what I'm doing. So to be able to do that at the age of 22, 23 requires that self-belief.
Yes.
And I think that is very important. That's the most important thing. So, that's a core of it, and then you have the other planet. Getting the opportunity, taking an opportunity, taking risk. These are all other things, around. He has different abilities there.
Well said. So, Maharukh, I'm now going to move to the last part of our questions, which are some questions for you personally.
Yeah.
Such an amazing career. You've done such amazing stuff. What does success mean to Maharukh?
Well, success means that I'm able to do what I want to do in a right way.
Mm-hmm.
Second is success also means that the respect which I get from my profession,
Mm-hmm.
I think that really gives me a lot of happiness.
Okay.
And at the end of it, I think that I mean, my mother was a housewife, and she used to always tell me that you cannot be a housewife.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a career, but you should not do it at the cost of your family. You have to
Correct.
manage both, and I think I've managed to do both very well.
Wonderful.
So I think that is what gives me a lot of happiness. And
Fantastic. Right at the beginning of our conversation, you mentioned you had written a book,
yes,
and I seem to have missed that when I was reading about you. Tell
yeah.
me about the book.
Yeah, so I was on a sabbatical from 2014 to 16, and as I told you, suddenly from 24/7 doing work all the time, I had nothing to do. I went back to institute, and
Mm-hmm.
when one of the professors had just started writing a book that time on pharmaceutical development.
Mm-hmm.
So she asked me to be a co-editor, and I got involved.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very good experience because I could distill all my 30 years of experience at that time into that book. It was a book on pharmaceutical development,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very well structured, I should say. The other co-editors had structured it very well.
Mm-hmm.
But I came in and I actually led the team and the group of students, and made them read things and write things. And I tried to. I've actually some of the chapters I have written myself,
Okay.
and some of them they have written. But I think made it a very practical handbook on how to do pharmaceutical development, and it's a very good book for students and young professionals in the field. So
Okay.
it's a book on my topic, which is pharmaceutical development.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So now I'm going to come to my last question to you. And, I'm going to come back to you as a pharmacist who's done so well in life. I worked with thousands of pharmacists in my journey as guardian. What would your advice be to a young pharmacist, just qualified B Pharm, D Pharm, coming out, starting a career, looking starry eyed at Maharukh and saying, look at where she's reached? What would your advice be to them?
First, I would say that try to understand yourself. Try to understand what are you passionate about and what do you
Okay.
enjoy doing. If that is the case, then you will push, because I mean, everything is not very easy or rosy. So you need to
Correct.
keep on pushing. So if you have that passion in you, you will keep on pushing. That's the first thing. Second thing is there are no shortcuts.
Okay.
There are no shortcuts to hard work and perseverance.
Hmm.
I mean, if anybody believes that, it is wrong. And I see also a lot of young people are very, what to say, especially when they come to do research, I find that they're very superficial. They don't go in depth into the problem and understand the science and understand what is happening. And they feel that they will go on Google and read a few papers and they will know anything on a subject, which is so wrong. So I think go very in depth and be very, very, what to say, meticulous about your work. Don't take it so laxly.
Okay.
If you do that, you reach wherever you want to reach.
Wonderful. So I'm going to ask you one more question. I have time for one more question. And this question is that if you, Maharukh, were a role model to millions of children who closely followed you and your life choices, what is the one thing you would change in yourself?
Only one thing I would change. I think I am by nature, or my attitude or my way of thinking is this: that anybody who's in front of me is a good person
Okay.
and is well-meaning, unless I see anything to the contrary.
Okay.
And I think sometimes, so I trust people very easily. I believe people very easily, and I think that has created issues for me. So I think that I don't think I want to change it, but I try to be a bit more vigilant. And I would tell people that try to always check out if the person in front of you is as genuine as you are. I think
Wonderful.
that is one thing which I would change.
Fantastic. Maharukh, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you. I wish you and Amaterasu lots and lots of luck and success.
Thank you very much, Ashutosh. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the brand called You Videocast and Podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called you.